Hi, I'm Adam Garzoli. I'm a columnist for the Daily Californian, and here with me today is Chancellor Nicholas Dirks of the University of California, Berkeley. Today we're going to be talking about the state of the university and the challenges that it faces. Chancellor Dirks, thank you for joining me.
Good to be with you.
So I'd like to start with the first topic, which is Berkeley Global Campus. Your proposal is to bring universities from around the world close to home to the university's Richmond campus to partner with Berkeley. Your proposal calls for millions of square feet in development, for facilitating research on pressing issues, for the creation of a sort of Rhodes Scholarship to attract talented scholars, and for hundreds of millions of dollars in private funding and investment. It's a massive undertaking, perhaps even more substantial than your predecessor's campaign for Berkeley, and that raising money is only one part of the equation. Your reputation as chancellor may very well hinge on this project. And so my question is, are you confident enough in this vision, in your vision, that it's worth the risk?
Okay, well, good question. You know, I'm not really all that worried about my reputation, or for that matter, my legacy. I mean, that will be of interest to me as a historian, and obviously everybody thinks about that, but that's not what is at stake here, and that's not how I've been thinking about this project. It's very different than the campaign for Berkeley. I mean, we're going to undoubtedly launch a new campaign in fairly short order for Berkeley. We will be trying to raise funds for all kinds of core academic purposes and missions. And campaigns are broad. They invite alumni and supporters and donors to join with faculty, staff, and students to think through what the great priorities are for the university in years ahead, and so that process, in fact, will continue. But the Berkeley Global Campus is a departure. It's a new undertaking of a very, I think, different and very bold kind for Berkeley, for the university. I've thought about it in relationship to a number of different precedents, at the same time that I've seen it as really something that is new, that is departure. I come from New York, as you know. I was at Columbia. Columbia expanded and developed a new campus. It was 10 blocks to the north, unlike this, which is 10 miles to the north. But in New York, a block is like a mile, so, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. And I was part of the administration at Columbia when we engaged in that expansion. That was an expansion where we had to acquire property, we had to get zoning, and we had to raise money. And now, in fact, the first buildings are well under construction, and Neuroscience Center, for example, is due to open in 2016. But there was massive private funding and a great amount of university reserves that could be used to begin that project. Here we have an extraordinary opportunity, as well as significant challenges. The opportunity: 130 acres. Of wonderful land on the shore in Richmond, just 10 miles north of campus, and an approved long-range development plan, which means that we can develop close to 6 million square feet of new constructed space. And all of this was approved by the Board of Regents in May of 2014. The land was acquired 50, 60 years ago, so it's not something that we had to deal with the acquisition of, nor was it something that involved the relocation or displacement of any people or businesses or pre-existing operations. So it's a huge opportunity in that regard. Sure. Okay, so what are the challenges? The challenges are we don't have state money, we don't have reserves on campus. We have to figure out how to do this, as it were, from scratch.
And that's actually an interesting point, because you mentioned Columbia University has developed or started to develop its own satellite campus, and so you drew that parallel. But you know, Berkeley is a public institution, and some people have raised concerns about the fact that Berkeley Global Campus will be almost exclusively private funding and corporate partnerships and whatnot. And some people are worried that Berkeley Global Campus will be treated as like a subset of private institution within the University of California, Berkeley, and so that raises the concern about its commitment to serving the public interest and making sure that even though it won't be receiving state funding, it still works and strives to serve the public. How can you reassure students and faculty that that will be the case?
Well, first of all, you know, the university is at a very different moment now than it was even a decade ago, even when my predecessor, Chancellor Berkeley, began his time in this office. When he started in 2004, the budget of the university was 30% supplied by the state. When I began, back in July or June, as it were, of 2013, only 12% came from the state. So, you know, in effect, I came to a university that is already massively supported by private sources. Whether you think about tuition, whether you think about philanthropy, whether you think about public-private partnerships, we do, of course, get, like every other university, public or private, a lot of support from the federal government to support research. But our state funding is really dramatically less than it ever was before. So we have been confronting choices in terms of even how we operate our main campus, in terms of thinking through the role of philanthropy, the importance of tuition, the kinds of private support we might be able to garner for research, for educational programs, for even the public activities that we pursue and the public mission that is still very much a part of our DNA and of our fundamental sense of ourselves as an institution. So, you know, so it's not this stark contrast between, you know, a public campus and a private campus, even though this is, of course, owned by the regents of the University of California. At the same time, if you look around at the buildings, they were put up by private gifts. Every one of these buildings that has names on them have private names that came from endowments and philanthropy. So this has, in fact, been part of the development of the University of California at Berkeley since its origins. Now, the new campus is going to operate differently because we are not going to be using any state money, and that is a departure. But in the first instance, it's important to note that we're out looking for some major gifts to support this Rhodes-like scholarship, and also a college, a global college for advanced study to support faculty, again, from around the world doing cutting-edge research, as the kind of centerpiece of the new campus. And the intellectual challenge of the programs that we will build around these Rhodes Scholarships and this College for Advanced Study are dealing with global challenges, global issues, bringing to bear, in some sense, the full range of resources that are on this campus in partnership with international universities, but in ways that will, you know, really, again, extend the kinds of things that we've been doing at Berkeley since its origins in terms of trying to make the world a better place. And here, of course, making the world a better place, knowing that there is no way you can now differentiate the fate of even our local university and town and region from global forces and activities. But I should also note that all the universities we're talking to are public universities. And all of the things that we're talking about with them involve different modes of putting up buildings and different ways of running programs, so that we, in fact, don't have to solicit huge amounts of money up front in order to get the programs launched and running. So I don't think it's either a stark opposition or at that level going to be something that is in any way inconsistent with the kind of mission and the kinds of things that we've already been doing to adjust to a very new reality these days.
Sure, but I mean, I think we both agree that the new reality is not exactly something that is desirable. I mean, if we had our way, the state would be funding a larger percentage of the UC budget than it does. And so,
sure.
Could you
if
say,
we had our way, we could get rid of tuition and we could have our full budget paid for by the state.
Sure, but isn't there a concern that this will be accelerating that process by which we continue to rely?
Even if we weren't going to the Berkeley Global Campus, even if that wasn't an idea that had any legs at all, we are in a period in which the state allocation that we're receiving is at a base that is 43% less than that which we received before the economic downturn. What are we going to do? Stop trying to support great faculty? Stop supporting great research? Stop recruiting the very best students across not just the state, but the country and the world? We are a university that has been ranked as one of the top 6 universities in the world. And we intend to maintain that position. And quite frankly, the students and the faculty who are raising questions are the students and faculty who come here because we are such a great university. I think they're committed to the continuing greatness of Berkeley.